Hello and welcome to your over-enthusiastic game guide. I'm SerroDan, and this guide should hopefully help you on your journey to get the Time-Lost Proto-Drake and show you that he is not as lost as people may think in Warlord of Draenor, just misguided somewhat. Okay, so being here, you most probably already know that the Time-Lost Proto-Drake is a level 80 rare elite and drops the reins of the Time-Lost Proto-Drake. Much like the names, the models are pretty much the same, but you got a pretty little purple saddle on the mount. So all across Storm Peaks, the Time-Lost Proto-Drake has 4 spawn points it could spawn at, and these points are rather distant from one another. But all these points are accessible to get a killing blow upon a spawn because this NPC spawns halfway out of the mountains, and what you're seeing now is a vague idea as to where he may pop out from at each of his points.
Hello. As for where either one of them will spawn next, it's purely down to chance, so think about a 4-sided dice with a spawn location on each of its face, then give it a roll. This is basically how the spawn system works. No point is favoured. Well, except the one that you're not at, obviously.
However, if there is no one there to give him a good slap at the time he spawns, then he will continue to fly his set flight routes. And as with there being 4 spawn points, there are also 4 different flight paths he may take, some being more longer, more of a vast route, and some being more of a lazy route. But you see, once this magnificent yellow beauty has spawned, he won't despawn, so he'll just keep going and going, and he won't keep going, he'll get snapped up pretty fast. But you're left with the reassurance. Now, if you haven't already guessed from the name of this NPC, this fellow is rather hard to come across, because much like other super rares, he also shares a spawn timer, spawn points, flight paths, with his good friend Vyra, another level 80 rare elite.
Now, there are many speculations on how the Time-Lost Proto-Drake spawn system works. One theory is that if you go round Northrend and kill other rares, it will induce a new one to spawn. And another theory is that there is a pretty wild spawn timer. But whilst making my first video, I visited a private server to test theory number 1. This server had not had a restart in 20 days, but arguing against it, you would have expected all rares to be up and about, but instead there were only 12. I then killed half of them and returned a couple of days later, and again, only 12 still up. Coincidence? If so, a big one. So this led me to believe this theory more. However, recent findings of theory number 2 have led me to believe this one more, and that theory number 1 was a big, massive coincidence. So we was on Proto-Drake watch at each of its spawn points, and we saw several spawns throughout the course of a day. And the shortest time it took for a spawn was 4 hours 6 minutes, but let's round that down to 4 hours. And the longest time we saw was 11 hours and 45 minutes, but let's round that up to 12. So over the course of 5 days we had 26 spawns. Anyways, in regards to the spawn time, we are talking between 4 to 12 hours.
Okay, so there are 2 ways you could camp the Time-Lost Proto-Drake. First one, you can be sitting at a point with your cursor hovering over the spawn point and wait for the drums to sound off using NPC scanner. But the downfall with this is that it could have spawned at a different location and flown past you without your cursor going over it to notify you, and that would be an awful feeling. Or you could just sit at a point and spam a macro to target the NPC, so you could pick it up when it's far in the distance and or behind you. So, let's start my journey here. So the way I decided to camp this NPC is I used a macro, and this macro targets a specific NPC and plays a sound to let you know it is near, as well as showing you a pointer on your minimap to let you know which direction it's coming from. But after my little Vyra instant, I decided to change my macro so that I would get dismounted and cast an instant spell on my target when I pick one up, because you wouldn't want to lose that Time-Lost Proto-Drake kill to someone who cannot camp at a different spawn point, even if you are the first one there. You can find the macros in the description if you wish to use them yourself, copy and paste them. However, if you are the one to be looking for a point to camp at, show some respect and camp at a different point if there are other people covering that specific point. Don't be a stacker, because there is an even chance it could spawn at any of the 4 points. You could even group up with other people to cover more points, so that if there is a spawn, someone will see it and you'll be kept in the know. But hopefully you get it first, of course. But if you are on your own, don't make the mistake of running the macro that dismounts you, because there is no competition. But there is also a chance it may be flying from another spawn point and you're not in range to be able to cast a spell. but you are in range to be able to target it, thus dismounting you. If this is the miracle and he is flying in the distance, you want to be able to kill him as fast as you can before it travels any further. You could either cast a spell, then float to the ground using another spell, or a potion that decreases your falling speed, much like a Snowfall Lager, which is also acquired in Storm Peaks. Not many people attempt a suicide kill, just in case they miss. Yikes. Or you can fly straight into it and get aggro and slowly move downwards for you to get your kill, because even still at level 100 you can get aggro just by stacking on top of him. You can be a stacker at this point.
But if you are concerned that you won't be able to get to the yellow flying stallion in time because he's over there in the distance running for his short little life, well, don't panic, because it's not a time-lost cause. You see, the Proto-Drake only has a 60% flight speed, and you should have at least 150, so you're going to be twice as fast as him, so overtaking the Drake is very, very easy. You can think about it like this: the Time-Lost Proto-Drake is driving a Fiat Cinquecento, and you, at 310% flight speed, are driving right up his backside in a Bugatti Veyron. I mean, who's going to win that? But, I don't suppose that really gives the Time-Lost Proto-Drake justice for what it really is.
It's too far away.
Thank you all for watching, and be sure to tell us how the macro worked for you, and whether your journey was as swift as this. But whilst you're here, you may as well, why not, subscribe, like, comment, whatever, the whole shebang if you wish. But for now, take care.